ready? Okay, can you guys hear us? Okay, awesome. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We are really excited to be here at Jenkins World 2017 this year. It's fun to share our story and connect with all other IT enterprises to share their learnings, but honestly, not just the learnings, and sharing our real Jenkins war stories with other large IT enterprises that are going through the same transformation as us with DevOps and the cloud. My name is Sharath Nellutla. I lead DevOps and cloud platform engineering teams at Verizon.
And hello, everyone. My name is Danrisha Young. I'm one of the lead DevOps engineers at Verizon.
Today, what we are going to talk about how to build an enterprise-grade Jenkins environment and how we are rebuilding our engineering culture at Verizon. At the end of this presentation, I'm sure you will walk away with at least a couple of points on how to scale the Jenkins at the enterprise level. Okay, let's get started. We are doing the pretty good work for the last few years at Verizon and for the DevOps and the cloud. We started shifting from the large monolith delivery models to the more modern, agile, nimble, delivery agile platforms. Our philosophy is simple. The line of code written by the developer is the very important thing in the organization. All other teams and the organized departments that are built around the line of code to take it to the production and make it available to the consumers so that we can make the money. But we can take that line of code to the production without any friction. If you see a few years back, the business, development, ops, infrastructure, all of them are used to work in silos. To take a simple release to the production, it used to take almost 3 months. If you want to make a simple price plan change, it was about to take like almost 3 months. So then we decided how to solve this problem. We try to modernize our operating models by rebuilding our engineering culture through the 3 streams. The first one is the agile, second one is the DevSecOps, third one is the cloud and API. So after this one, we reduced after this automation and all these rebuilding the engineering culture and moving towards the automation, we reduced that release cycles from 3 months to almost they are releasing it like every week, and sometimes they are doing it every couple of days. So what is needed to do this one, right? So we built a world-class sophisticated SDLC tool chain so that when a developer writes a line of code without any friction, without any manual intervention, you can take it to the production, either in the private cloud or the public cloud through the automation. Just to get into a deep dive into our toolchain, what it is, we are using the Jira for agile practices. We are using the Bitbucket for our version control system and Selenium for our test automation. We are using the Artifactory for the binary management. And we are using the Sonar for the code quality. And we have the cloud endpoints, like we have the AWS and GCP, as well as we have the Cloud Foundry. So we built an end-to-end automation platform so that you can innovate faster and release faster. But we have almost 60,000 users on this tool chain and thousands of developers, hundreds of terabytes of code on the version control system. So we have a shared services model as a team that manages this whole tool chain. And across the Verizon different portfolios like wireline, wireless, business, networks, everyone will use this tool chain. But Verizon is pretty big, right? We have almost like 146 million subscribers, and 160K plus employees, and we have like 70,000 retail stores. So building a tool chain to support the different needs, to cater the different needs of different portfolios is very challenging work. All this platform is the Jenkins is our orchestration engine. right? That has to support different builds and different functionalities to take that code to the production. So if you double click into our Jenkins history and how we revolutionized the Jenkins in our organization, in 2015 we started we have like with 2,000 jobs. Now we have almost 30,000 jobs that across the organization, the developers they created. We have almost 13K developers across the globe. They are working day and night to write the code and build it and take it to the production. We have they created almost 1.5 million bills to 2 million bills a year through this tool chain. This is a massive tool chain you can consider with, we can compare with any other organization. So how did we start this whole journey? We just want to share how we evolved and how we built the highly scalable Jenkins environment. This is like a crawl to walk, right? Initially, we started with single node, a small few teams. They started using the Jenkins as like, compile, build, and package, and take it to the production. As more teams started adapting that one, then we thought, okay, one server doesn't work. Let's have a non-prod server, and let's have one prod server. So in the non-prod server, you'll just do the plugin tests and have uncontrolled restarts. But in the prod, you have a controlled restarts. But what you have seen is the Jenkins usage has gone wild across the different organizations like wireline, wireless, networks, and the business. We added more nodes, more users, more jobs. Then our model, like one prod, non-prod server and one prod server, the whole performance started going down the hill. Whenever there is a problem, to restart the Jenkins, it used to take a lot of time. And something goes down, all these applications are just sitting idle and stop pushing the code to the release, to the production. So then we thought, okay, let's sit back and see what we can do, how we can solve this problem, right? So then we thought we need to have a clustered Jenkins environment for each portfolio. So business will have its own, wireline will have its own, and wireless will have its own. And all of the small portfolios, we gave another master. So this has the primary, and this has the secondary. So if the primary goes down, we automated the process so that automatically, the secondary will kick off. And this primary and secondary are attached with the NFS storage so that they can talk to the job definitions and everything to the same backend system. And we have a replicated NFS storage across the regions. That means east and west in a real-time sync. At any point of time, you are not going to lose any information, and you'll have the highly available and scalable environment. Previously, we used to have on Windows. Now, we moved everything to the Linux and integrated with the corporate LDAP system. And we integrated with the Artifactory. Now, you can see billion-dollar applications are going through these billion-dollar revenue-generating applications are going through this pipeline. What you have seen in the last 6 months, there was no single level 2 outage that was reported. There was no unplanned downtime for this whole tool chain. This is, as it's a lightning talk, we have just provided only top-level items. There are like so many other behind the scenes. We added so many things so that it can scale at the enterprise level. Running the Jenkins at a smaller company is different, and when you have like so many users and revenue-generating apps are going through the pipeline, the scaling at the enterprise level is totally a different use case. So it's not an amazing thing, right? So now Danisha will go over some of more improvements that we added and we made to this platform so that this is at the high-end level.
So once we had our HA model in place, we basically started looking at user pain points. One of the most major issues for users was that they didn't want to have to worry about bringing their own server to use as a slave node. They want to be able to create their job, trigger their job, and not have to worry about configuring a slave node. So we decided to leverage Kubernetes. Kubernetes is basically a container management tool. So with Jenkins, you can easily integrate Kubernetes via the Kubernetes plugin. So it's just a simple configuration. There, you're able to specify the Docker images that you want to use as the node flavors. So for us, we created several different Docker images to use that's baked with different common tools like Java, Maven, Ants. And basically, when a user wants to leverage one of these on-demand nodes, they just have to simply restrict their job to run on this specific node. So when their job is triggered, the node is spun up, and once that job completes, the node is then destroyed. So this is very efficient, and it can definitely help you to reduce the number of static nodes that you have on your environment. Now, with a large environment, it's definitely important to try to look for opportunities for cleanup. One of the first things that we looked at was how can we get rid of unused jobs? So we did come across the shelving plugin, but we decided not to use that. We just wanted to have more control over the functionality, and we wanted to be able to specify where the archive was actually getting stored. So we decided to come up with a customized script. Our script will go through all the jobs, and if there's been no config change in the past 90 days, or there's been no build in the past 90 days, it will then archive it. This method has helped us to archive thousands of jobs across the board, which ultimately does help to improve Jenkins' performance. So not only did we look at trying to get rid of unused jobs, we also looked at how can we get rid of unused nodes. So we applied the same thing here. We came up with our own custom scripts that will go through all the slave nodes, check to see if the node is offline, and if it has 0 jobs tied to it, it's going to remove that node. So this method helped us to reduce the number of unused nodes that we had for a certain time period. But once we moved to Jenkins 2 and the pipeline job became more widely used on our environment, we realized that there was a gap in our scripts. We're not actually able to tell whether or not a pipeline job is tied to a node. So that's just something to be aware of, because you could mistakenly delete a node thinking that there's no jobs tied to it, when in fact, there's several pipeline jobs tied to that specific node. Now, as a Jenkins administrator, we probably find ourselves doing the same task over and over again. This is a good area to look at to automate. So one of the first things that we automated was, for example, with the Publish over SSH plugin, a user would normally have to get with a Jenkins administrator in order to add a new SSH server. So this was definitely a good opportunity for us to automate. We created a customized script, we dropped that into a Jenkins job, opened it up to our users, and now they no longer have to rely on a Jenkins administrator. They can complete this task at any time. Another method, earlier I mentioned the archival process that we had in place. So of course we had to provide some sort of method for users to be able to restore their jobs. So we automated this by creating a custom script and then dropping that into a job, opening it up, and allowing users to be able to restore a job whenever they need to. So if you do have a lot of manual processes that you're doing as a Jenkins administrator, it's definitely good to look at these and try to figure out a way to automate them. Now, monitoring is another big one, right? Because you want to make sure that your environment is actually being monitored. So for us, we use Nagios. Nagios is going to tell us whether a server is down, or if Jenkins is down, or if there's a space issue. We're going to be alerted so we can act on that. So in addition to this, we also leverage Kibana. Kibana is a really good tool because you're able to pull all of your logs across all your masters into one single tool. This tool will help you to analyze all of this log data, and it's definitely helped us on numerous occasions to troubleshoot issues. On top of that, with Kibana, you're also able to create customized dashboards that can help you further analyze the log data. Now, as we started making our journey to the public cloud, we first started out with non-prod deployments. We wanted to be able to provide our users with a really good pipeline from Jenkins to AWS. So we decided to leverage Ansible. We created a customized Ansible tool that's very similar to Ansible Tower. So it basically acts as the middleman, and it handles all of the communication with AWS. Now, to integrate this with our Jenkins, we created customized plugins. So one of the plugins that we created is the CloudFormation plugin, which basically allows a user to deploy a CloudFormation template to AWS. So from Jenkins, they're going to trigger their job. It's going to make the call to Ansible, and then Ansible will make the call to AWS and deploy that CloudFormation template. So within the same CloudFormation plugin, a user can also run an Ansible playbook to, for example, configure an EC2 instance once it's spun up. If they want to install Tomcat or install their application, they're able to do that from the same plugin. Now, as we moved over to production deployments on AWS, we now had to create a different type of pipeline. Security was a big thing for us, so we had to create a secured pipeline. Using tools like CFNAG or config rule status, we were able to create a secured pipeline that would allow us to certify CloudFormation templates and infrastructure resources to ensure that users were only spinning up resources that fell within the standards that Verizon put in place.
So we have a highly available and scalable world-class Jenkins environment that is satisfying the needs of different portfolios, and around 60,000 users are there on our toolchain. So what are our next steps? So we are planning to build an on-demand Jenkins for the even full-stack teams, so that they can self-serve and create the Jenkins environment, and they can run. And the other one is, as a developer, I can have a same pipeline, but the endpoint might be AWS, other endpoint might be a Google Cloud. So that I will define what is my endpoint, I'll run the same pipeline to deploy and spin up the environments. So we'll be working on how to define that at the enterprise level for the multi-cloud delivery. The last one is, so far we have all these environments that we did it internally on the private cloud. We are planning to take this one to the public cloud and build a HA environment. These are all some of our next steps that we are planning to work on. If you have any, this is about our journey and how to scale the Jenkins at the enterprise level. If you have any questions, you can feel free to email us or talk to us in the booth. Thank you.
Thank you all.